Speaking of everything that can go wrong went wrong. Okay, so you know how I'm supposed to go to the CJ Hendry show tomorrow?
Yes,
And
I
like
saw
outside
her
of Las
sneak
Vegas.
peek.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh, babe. Like her thing is like everything that can go wrong went wrong. And I feel so bad for her. Like I've been following like her setting it up like all of this week and last week. It's been crazy. And also like bless her heart for trying to do this outdoors and just fighting with the elements in the desert
Ugh,
has been insane.
it's not easy.
And like yesterday, did you see that like they're like so usually she'll host like a dinner, you know, for her collectors or whatever,
Yeah.
like a couple days before the opening of the show. And
Yeah.
then they were building this like beautiful like glass like see-through stage above the pool, you know, so that people
They
can
go
like
above and
eat
beyond. She
dinner
goes
on top of
above
it.
and beyond everything. Like,
Okay, but
even if
then
it's just dinner. Yeah.
they broke the glass a
Oh
couple hours
no!
before the dinner, so they had to improvise. Like it's insane. Like everything that can go wrong went wrong. Like can you just
Oh
imagine,
my
Vicky? Like you have guests
goodness.
showing up and like everything is set
This is
up
an
and then the
example, though,
stage breaks.
yeah, of like how you cannot be a perfectionist because it would destroy you right before the
Well,
event. Just like,
literally is destroying her. She's like, I am never
oh,
doing this outdoors ever again. Like as a control freak, like this is not like it doesn't is not well like good for my mental well being. And I'm like, I feel you, sis. I do.
I know, but they prepared so many things that I feel like
Yeah.
even if it all like half of the things go awry, there's still the other half that's gonna be really good. So yeah.
Yeah, it'll be
Oh, are
interesting.
you still going? You're still going, right? I
I'm
thought you
still
were gonna tell
going,
me that
which
you're
is
not
like
going.
like so I have a cold. If you can't hear it in my voice. I've been just like taking
Babe.
all the Dayquil, taking all the NyQuil, taking all the cough medicine, and I'm like, I think I'll be okay. I'm just gonna be
Yeah.
masked up, you know, on the plane, in the car, like I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like I feel fine. Like I do feel a little bit lethargic, you know, but like I feel okay. You know, I just
Okay.
have to like take it slow.
Yes. Please don't overdo it. Don't party too hard, girl, because if you stay out in the desert
Oh,
until
girl,
like 5 in the morning, that's not gonna be good for
who are you
you.
talking
As
to?
if as
Do I
if
look like someone that parties really hard? Maybe, but I do
we
not. I need to go to bed at like 9 o'clock.
we are secretly grandmas. It's
I am not a
amazing.
secret grandma. Let me tell you, I am like
Yeah.
outright,
Okay.
like straight
Yeah.
up
Very
Asian
proud,
grandma
actually.
right here.
Yes.
I own
Very
it.
proud.
I'm good with it.
Yeah. Are we
Um,
on record now? Is this part of the podcast?
yes, Asian grandmas.
Okay. Because literally, like, we had a sleepover thing with Ann one time, and it's funny because we were sleeping in the same bed, and girl, you literally did not move all night long. I thought I was like a steady, like
Oh,
non,
really?
like a stiff sleeper. You were just like tucked in there and didn't roll, didn't shift, didn't like shuffle, nothing, none of that. So
Yo.
funny.
So let me tell you. I'll let you in on something. So I actually shift a lot more these days than I am when I was younger.
Okay.
So, and I'm telling you, I don't know where I got this from. Like, I've always been an OCD person, and even as a child, as a young child. And so, like, every night I would go to bed, like as a young kid, like super young, right? I would go to bed and I would just like kind of like cocoon myself into the bed, right? And I would just like tuck myself in, like slide into under the covers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then so like everything is still pristine,
All
right?
the sheets are like
Yes.
perfectly smoothed
And
out
then
except for the bump on your body.
Yes. And then I would just lay there and not
Girl.
move. And then in the morning I would slide out and then I don't make the bed because I don't need to make the bed. Like nothing
You're
is messed up. Like I don't
hilarious.
move at all. Like it's crazy. Like as a young child, again, nobody in my family did that. My parents weren't like that.
Yeah.
I don't know where I got it from, but
That is so
yeah.
funny. I wonder if like like that, how you sleep says a lot about your personality for everyone too.
How you do one thing is how you do everything.
How you do everything. That's what you always say. That's right. That's right. Girl. Oh my gosh. How do we get to this?
Anyways, wait. Okay, Vicky, we're kind of unprepared because we're I do want to touch on like, you know, the artist that influences us. But I was thinking this morning, I was like, holy shit. Oh my gosh, I just swore. So this is going to be explicit. Let's just keep going. I really need to, or maybe we need to make a whole other episode for this, but maybe we just get started now. But we really need to talk about your video going viral because, and I know we keep talking about like, okay, we need to do another episode on social media because things have changed, but maybe we can like do like a long version of that.
That's actually a good one. So if you're listening to this, you're kind of, we just jumped right into this, which is normal because Ann and I just talk nonstop.
Yeah.
However, okay, so let me backtrack so they all get it.
Let's make this episode a thing. Okay, you know what? Like, let's talk about. Wait,
do we want to do that one?
Yeah, let's just change topics. Like, let's just like do social media. Are you good with that? Like, let's just do it.
We literally came in unprepared. And the background to all this is we tried to film an episode. Like, was it last week? Time is not a thing for me.
Yeah.
It was like last week. We tried to film an episode. We tried to upload last week. And when we went back to hear everything went wrong. The lights were flickering. There was an echo in the recording. Everything went wrong. We had a topic and everything. And it just wasn't going to happen. So we're trying it today. Cross our fingers that this is all going to go smoothly. But anyways, yes. Are we changing topics? Are we doing that whole thing?
You know what? Let's revisit the topic. But I feel like top of mind right now, I really want to talk about your experience of your video going viral. And again, all of sort of this like back end thing that happened that no one really knows about. But I mean, you kind of let people in on it, like on Threads, and
I was totally prepared to do a live because I was going to rent, but the thing dragged on for so long that I didn't really get a chance. So I feel like this is a perfect time for me to go into that rant as well. But you were totally like updated throughout the whole thing because I was like, Ann, I don't know what's going on.
And I think it would be interesting, like for one, like let's talk about your video going viral and like, you know, what was so great about it and like how it caught fire. And then also sort of like our experience coming off of social media, like in 2023, transitioning to 2024 and like picking that back up, like the differences that we've noticed in sort of just like the algorithm climate, whatever it is. And I think it would be interesting for us to revisit that because I think you and I have different experiences and it would be interesting to kind of shed some light on like what we're struggling with because I feel like we are not alone and it would be nice for other people to kind of get in on that too.
Yes, totally. And yeah, so the background of all of this is, so I made a pair of Air Force Ones, like White Rabbit Air Force Ones. And this is totally a personal project. It wasn't in association with anybody else.
Okay, wait, hold on, Vicky, one sec. Can you talk a little closer to the mic?
Yes, I can.
It feels totally like
leaned back. Okay,
there's a lot of space between your voice and mic. Okay, this is better.
How's that?
Okay,
is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. So I made a pair of shoes, and it was a personal project. I had this idea. I actually had this idea while we were still sharing a studio. And I just never got the chance to do it. And I was thinking, you know, this would be a really easy pair of shoes to do. So I just did it. Not thinking, no expectations, nothing. It was just like, oh, this is a childhood candy that I love. I have a pair of sneakers that are lying around, not in use, and I'm just going to do it. And
wait, actually, what is the childhood candy? Can we talk about that real quick?
Yes, it's White Rabbit candy. Did you have it as a kid?
I feel like that candy is more of like, it's not a Taiwanese candy.
Mm-hmm. And is it like a Chinese candy?
I think it's a Chinese candy because I actually, didn't have that particular one growing up. But it's weird because I know of it from my memory too. And so did I have it when we immigrated? But then also my mom is not the type that buys us candy. So I wonder if like somebody at school gave it to me or something like that. I don't know.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. But I definitely didn't grow up with that in Taiwan.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Because so I had it when I was in Canada. And I think so my parents were originally born in Vietnam. And I guess my dad is totally the type to like introduce me to snacks that he liked when he was a kid. And so he probably had it when they were in Vietnam. And it's so interesting because since the post sort of went viral, there were a lot of people sharing that, oh, this is like my childhood candy. I'm from Hong Kong. I'm from Singapore. I'm from, you know, like not even from Asia. And I had this as, you know, like a childhood
So
candy.
is it a Southeast Asian candy?
I have no idea. I don't know. Historically, it's like made in China.
Okay.
So it's like a Chinese candy.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Anyways, yeah, I don't know all the specifics about it. But yeah, so decided to make it. And I was like, totally, you know, those projects that you do. Okay, we've mentioned this before, one for you, one for me type of thing. This was totally a project for me because I was just having fun. And I uploaded it. And, you know, like I didn't expect anything. I was like, oh, here's a fun project that I did. And of course, Anne being like the best big sis was like, you're gonna hit 1 million. You're like
well,
you're anticipating
like
it.
350K views. And I was like, okay, this is on track, you know, based on like how many days
like,
it took
based
to get
based
there.
On my experience, because I've gone viral multiple times.
No,
this
listen.
is gonna go viral.
I was like, this one is going, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, okay, first of all, before you even get to the numbers, like I just want to say that like what's really interesting to me about this particular project is it's shown me that it does not matter if it's something that maybe the majority of the people in the world don't know about, meaning the topic, like the subject of this artwork, right? Because in my mind, yes, like Asians are more familiar with this type of candy, but it's a very like demographic specific type of sort of content, right?
Yep.
Like unless you know of this candy, it's like harder to make the connection. But then regardless, like it was so wild to me because it doesn't matter what the topic or the subject is because the art is good. And when the art is good, that almost doesn't matter. And this post has shown me that. And that's what I really love about it. And I think it's important to point that out.
Yeah. So I don't know. I still like, I am one to dissect, like, why did things go well? We do like a postmortem, right? Every time, just to even if it's just a little brain exercise. And this one in particular, I think the way that our audience is and you know how Instagram serves our content to people, we have a lot of North American viewers, right? But somehow this took a turn. So it was interesting because during the day it would, you know, go up in views, and then during the night, because it actually got to Asia, it would grow at night.
Oh, so you look at the analytics to like where people are viewing it.
I would go to sleep. I would be like, oh, okay, you know. I try not to obsess over the numbers, but my partner is beside me checking all the time, which is amazing.
As he should.
Yeah, but he's just like, oh, it's at this number before we go to sleep. And then we'll go to sleep and we'll wake up and it's like, oh, it's continuing to grow, which is not normal, which is not what typical posts are when they're not, I guess, quote unquote, going viral. So it's interesting. And I know that a lot of people have no idea what it is, or people who aren't Asian are like, oh yeah, you know, like this is kind of cool, regardless of if they have had the candy or not. So yeah, I don't know. It was interesting to see it do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, of course, I was like, okay, this is on trend to hit 1 million. Like, what are we going to do to celebrate? And then tell us what happened literally right before it hit 1 mil.
It's so funny. Okay, so we've been battling with this whole like copyright infringement, trademark infringement situation for the longest time with customs specifically, right? And so I wasn't even expecting it. We're like at 900,000 views, something like that. And it's still performing really well. I think this was only what, first, second, third day that it was up, something like that. Pretty short. It was doing really well, and then it got taken down. So Instagram took it down because of copyright infringement or trademark infringement.
Wait, okay, hold on. You're like brushing past this way too fast. Okay, I want you to like share with us, like, how did it feel when you discovered Instagram took it down? Like what happened in that moment and you're like, WTF, what happened?
I was just, I don't know. I guess throughout the entire time, I didn't get like overly excited or overly disappointed. I was just like, oh, of course Instagram's pulling this. Like I was kind of just, I don't know. I didn't know how to feel, I guess. I was like, okay, great. So my one post that's doing really well, you know, and I think I've had posts that I've made before that I think are like that I've had a lot of fun with, and they don't go very far. So they maybe get like a couple hundred likes or something like that, or like maybe a couple thousand views, and that's it. So for me, I was like, oh yeah, this is doing really well, but is it just because, you know, of Asian nostalgia, you know, or, you know, the whole like Asian phase is like really big right now, so it's catching on, right? So I wasn't really like married to the idea that this was going to go viral and this is what I'm going to do. This is my future. Like I didn't put a lot of weight on it. So when it got taken down, I was like, great, you know, like this is just my luck, right? When I truly felt something was when it got put back up and then taken down again and then put back up. So that was what it was. It was just playing with me, you know. That was when I started getting really frustrated.
Yeah. And then how was, okay, so when it got taken down the first time, was there anything that you've done on your end to try to figure out like why? Like, because from our experience, collective experience, you know, you and I and with our peers, is that when Instagram takes something down, they don't tell you why they took it down. They're like, and you're kind of just left like baffled, like guessing, like why did they remove my post? Like I need an answer, because here we are thinking like, okay, I don't want to do the same thing again, make the same mistake again, you know, if I'm going to put time and effort into creating this work and have it only to have it taken down again. So like, tell me what I did wrong so I can avoid doing that again. But they don't tell you anything. And so what steps did you take after they took it down to kind of figure out what had happened?
So when they took it down, I think there was a notice that said it was a trademark infringement. And then there's a little blurb underneath it that basically says like, you know, according to our community guidelines and things like that, you have to do things that are kosher and within our rules and what we consider blah, blah, blah. So it's very general. It's very general.
Is within the Instagram app, or do they email you?
Within the Instagram app. Okay. So when it gets taken down, then you click into it and you're like, find out why or whatever. Mm-hmm. It gives you a short little blurb. And then of course there are links to like FAQs and so on and so forth. Not helpful. All of it is super general. And typically, I don't know if you've ever filed like this is inappropriate, if you flagged content as inappropriate and then you fill out the form and it's like, why was it inappropriate? And if you file a complaint against someone, typically like they'll ask you to put in your personal information. And they say that information gets sent to the person who created the post. I didn't get any of that.
Interesting.
So what was,
so it wasn't like somebody that was trying to sabotage you.
I mean, I still don't know because I don't have a solid evidence. I don't have solid evidence of who actually sent it. Funny thing is, White Rabbit Candy doesn't even have an Instagram presence. So they're not even on Instagram, right? And honestly, like it's funny because all of this could just be good like a post going viral about a brand is what we do. Like that's my job, right? Like I work with brands in order to create content to share their brand and market their brand. So this can only do good for White Rabbit Candy. So I don't really see it being them, but
I don't
so
think
it
so
could be
either.
them,
Yeah.
or it could be what they were saying is like it could be Nike. And at the time, I was working with these are not people from Facebook, well, Meta. These are people from, I guess they work for them, but they're not like, it's not like I have an intimate relationship with anybody from Meta itself. They're just trying to promote like creator content, like ease of creation and stuff like that, and like tell you to go on threads and stuff. So I was in talks with someone through there, and they looked at my content and they were like, oh yeah, like it totally could be Nike or it could be White Rabbit Can. Everybody was giving me a very vague response. There was no way to get to the bottom of like who exactly flagged that content. And it probably could have been somebody random. Like if I saw something super inappropriate online and I flagged it, it could have been someone like me, you know? So I have no idea who it was, but it got taken down at like the peak. So it was like climbing. And then like I was looking at it, Anne was looking at it. It was like, oh, it's gonna hit 1 million. And then it just got taken down. And so my course of action was like, I spoke to everybody that I possibly could. I went to the actual, my battery is low. Let me plug in my laptop so we don't disappear.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're totally fine.
Wait, it is plugged in. What?
I'm trying to think. So I have never actually even tried to contact Meta because I know I probably would be very frustrated.
And like I'm verified.
But then yeah, also like is there a difference? Because like, you know, when they were sort of marketing people to get verified, so like you pay for a subscription monthly fee, you know, one of the quote unquote perks is that they would have a live customer service support, you know, for creators. And was that true for you or not?
No, it was like the stupidest thing. So you would go into support and then you would select the post that is of interest, whatever it is. And then
that you need support on.
Right. And then they ask you to write a paragraph explaining why you think your post was taken down wrongfully, and then upload supporting documentation, whatever that is. And then
like an appeal.
Yeah, like an appeal, submit an appeal. And then somebody would send you an email responding to that. It might take a couple days. It might be within the day. And they would be like, oh, okay, we'll have someone look into that. Could you please specify your name, your address, and then tell us exactly what post? I'm like, bitch, like I already just did. I literally wrote you a paragraph and sent you the video of the exact post and like the exact situation. I don't think that this violates any copyright infringement or anything, because it's literally a video showing the behind the scenes of me making something inspired by a product. Right. This product does not exist. Like Nike doesn't have a collab with them. And also I'm not trying to sell it. And so again, like I'm just creating content and you're taking my content down saying that, you know, it's violating this stuff that I don't think it's violating. And I've also consulted like a copyright lawyer about this, and they were like, yeah, I mean, I don't see a case, right? Maybe Nike could, but you're not selling anything. You're not promoting that you're selling this product, so you should be fine. And that's what I wrote in there. I was like, I've received, you know, like legal advice that this shouldn't be an issue. And so you do that, and then you get a response from someone from Meta. And they're like, oh, we'll look into it, but here are our community guidelines, FAQs. Like, go back into these generalized links, right? And so it's this vicious cycle of if you haven't submitted an appeal, submit through your phone on the app, and through this section, like go into settings and your account, and then submit it again. So I submitted probably like 10 times. And then
do they
in between, yeah.
So when they, this is where I think it might be helpful, is do they at any point, wherever you are submitting your appeal, like after you submit it and like it confirms that you submitted the appeal, do they say, hey, it usually takes 48 to 72 hours? Or like, do they give you sort of this window of time of like when they will get back to you after it's reviewed?
No, so the funny thing is they don't actually give you a time of when they're going to get back. They say if you don't respond, like if they ask you for your name again, whatever, your name, your information again, if you don't respond within 48 hours, then the case will be closed. So it's actually like a threat, like, hey, if you don't respond, we're going to think that you're okay with all of this and we don't need to deal with you anymore. So we're going to close the case. So it's not like we will make sure that we get back to you. It's like, you better get back to us. Otherwise, we're going to ignore you. And
so you have to keep following up. And that's why you had to do what you did. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And then I went into like meta support and I went into the chat and I was like, hey, still on this situation. And every single time you go into the chat, they'll give you like a reference number, like a reference ID of, I guess, your interaction or your complaint. And I went on there so many times that at the beginning, I would have to just state my ID number. I'm like, don't give me a new one. Just go refer back to this where I told you, hey, I'm still having this issue. And I did this over the course of, I don't know, was it like 2 weeks or something like that?
But it
took a really long time.
It felt like it took a long time because nothing was being resolved and you weren't getting any answers. And I think just like, again, we've had peers that experienced similar situations in the past where like they just shut down their whole entire account, which was like, oh my God, that is such a nightmare.
Sad.
And like,
it's so sad.
It's so frustrating because every day feels like a year because that's where you run your business. That's where you have your contact with your customers. And so when that gets taken down, even for a day or two, it feels like a long time because you feel disconnected.
It was like, so when I posted it, kind of coincided with Lunar New Year or Chinese New Year. So it was like, it was a planned out period of time. I can't imagine if it was like an actual collaboration with a client, what that would feel like, because then you're actually being paid to do something like this and you are being paid to release it at a certain time. A lot of times, like when you're working with clients, they time it with their drops as well. So if, I mean, yeah. And so I think, like, for example, like, let's say we're working with Cheetos and Cheetos has a new flavor that's being dropped and I need to make a pair of shoes that has the new flavor and it's advertising the new flavor. If they take it down and they tell me like, okay, with Cheetos is fine because then I can get the licensing for that. But if they say it's Nike, then what's going to happen? Like, I can't, they were like, oh, you can ask Nike for like a written notice that they're like, it's okay for you to do this. I'm like, who do you think my friends are?
Yeah, and also who do I reach out to for that? Time? Like, do you have a number like I can call?
Everybody's going to ignore me, right? Exactly. Like, who at Nike is going to be responsible for writing me a letter saying, "Hey, Vic, you're authorized to use our shoes to make customs"? Obviously, that's not happening, right? So it's like super frustrating.
That's an interesting point because I think there are projects that you've done in the past where the companies specifically ask that you don't use a brand name sneaker, like something that's not recognizable, something that is not branded, where you can immediately tell what silhouette or what shoe it is. Again, just to kind of minimize your risk of being flagged, right?
Yeah. And that's typically like what I would advise, like when we're having our meetings. I'm like, don't do anything with a giant swoosh on the front because there's a lot of, okay, so it's interesting. I found out so much, yet I found out so little because like I said, when I was in the meta chat, they would offer you like an option to call an associate or have an associate call you. And I was like, oh, okay, that's great. I need to talk to someone. It's nicer to talk to a human than think that you're just interacting with a bot.
Totally.
However, I kind of wish that I had all of this like transcribed. Like I wish I had it in writing because when I was talking to someone, there was a guy who was like, oh, I've been working with meta support for years. I don't know how many years he said, really, really long time. And he asked me a bunch of questions that were really interesting. he was the one that was like, oh, you might need to get a letter from Nike authorizing you to use it before we put your content back up. I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like, this isn't even about the Nike. This is about the process behind everything. And then he asked me, are you monetizing on Instagram? And I'm like, no, I'm not monetizing on Instagram. He's like, you should, because if you do, then there's some kind of protection for people that are monetizing, and it allows you to collaborate and do all these things and prevent your content from being taken down. And I'm like, wait, what? So you're telling me that if I'm actually making a lot of money with my content, it's actually going to be less likely to be taken down? And he says, yes. And so it was a little counterintuitive, like, and I've spoken to clients as well, and they're like, oh, that doesn't make sense. Like typically when you promote a post, it will not get taken down as likely as if you don't promote a post. So I guess in this case, Meta is more focused on like how they can earn money. And if they're earning money, then they kind of just, let you slide.
Turn the other way. I mean, that kind of makes sense to me, right? Because
from a company standpoint, yes.
Yeah, if like the more eyeballs you get on something, like something that goes viral, like they wouldn't want to take it down, because for every view they're getting 5 pennies, then why would I do it, right? Yeah, I mean, so. Again, so risky. Like, yes, that makes sense, but then also, how do you know?
How do you know? Exactly. And whenever I have a person on, I sound like a Karen on the phone, because I'm like, listen, Girl. I don't even care if this post gets put back up. I just want to know if my future posts are going to be taken down and how I can avoid it completely. And they were like, oh, like, maybe you could turn the swoosh so that it's like on the side and like not put it full on. And I'm like, dude, sometimes I do swoosh Sundays. It's literally front and center. And also with the way that we paint customs, a lot of times if there's a graphic on there, you can't turn it and pose it in such a way that would make it less obvious that it's a swoosh, because of like, it's just going to look warped, right? You want to showcase the picture, drawing, whatever it is, painting, front on, so that you can see like, oh, you actually did a good job. Like, you didn't mess up, the eyes and the nose and all that stuff. And this reminds me. So what he was saying is, the majority of things that get taken down, they're using an AI program right now that just mass scans everything. So it goes through and it's like, oh, this is content that's potentially copyright, and then they'll take it down. Like copyright infringement, they'll take it down. And so a lot of it is AI. However, with Meta, there is still not somebody that you can go to that can be like, hey, here's my post. Can you put your human eyes on it and double check? And here's my reasoning for why it's not violating anything. And can you put it back up? There really isn't anything like that.
Yeah, I think this is where it makes sense that like AI scrubbing, right? Because there's so much content on Instagram that there's no way that they can have somebody physically sit there and look at everything. And so like the easiest way is to just have a bot scrub it. But then the bot don't always know the nuance and the difference between what something that should be flagged or not, Man, so that almost becomes like another part of your job, is to make sure you stay on top of these messages that you might get from Meta, TikTok, wherever you post your content, that this might potentially be taken down. So they've taken down a total of how many times and put it back up a total of how many times now?
They took it down. They put it back up for like a day, and then they took it down. I think they put it back up for like half a day. Took it down.
And then every time you do an appeal?
Yeah, I did. I like followed up with them. And if there was time in between, I would do it almost every single day. Because like the support wouldn't tell you, hey, we've looked at this. This is they would just send me like, oh, you like, it was almost very generic messages. It was almost as if like if there was a person, I don't know if it was a robot or a person sending me these messages. Sometimes you can tell, sometimes you can't tell. It wasn't specific. It was just general. They would be like, they would have a script and they would just send you the general information. Hey, if your post violates our guidelines for copyright infringement, then it will be taken down. It's like, great. Did you look at my post? Can you tell me exactly? Like, I kept asking them, can you tell me exactly who took this down? Who sent you the request? Why was this being flagged? Was it the candy or was it the sneaker? Because we're constantly still in this battle where we've spoken to people that work at Nike and they're like, nah, Nike seems to be perfectly fine with it as long as you're not making fakes and selling, large amounts of it in their name so that consumers mistaken this as like a Nike product, right? So again, I had no concrete answer. And every time it was put back up, it wasn't like somebody sent me a message saying, hey, we looked at your post and we think it's fine, so we put it back up. It just I would constantly have to check, or I would be surprised. I'd be like, hey, why is my phone vibrating? Oh, it's because the post is put back up and I'm getting notifications, right? So I wouldn't even know what was going on. And then it would get taken down, obviously, the next day again. And ultimately, it's been put back up, but I cannot tell you exactly why, and I cannot tell you how to get your post back up because I don't actually know what worked. I just was incessant. Like, I didn't give up and I just kept contacting them. And yeah, there was nothing. It was like speaking into a void. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's super frustrating. But I think in this case, like, persistence is key in hopefully getting it back. At some point, did you feel like giving up? You're like, you know what? This is a lost cause. Like, I'm not going to focus on this anymore. I got to move on with my life.
Oh yeah. I was over it. I was so over it. I just kept doing it because, again, what was frustrating to me is why they kept taking it down and putting it back up, taking it down, putting it back up. And I think that, eventually the post hit 1 million, but it's just strange. Like, they took it down within like 2 or 3 days of it being posted. So what could it actually have done? How could it actually have performed if it wasn't taken down? And then also, I was just curious as to like what the whole procedure was. And so, babe, I don't know why, but my thing is running so low, even though it's plugged in.
Oh.
That's interesting.
Do you want to try unplug it and plug it back in? Does it even look like does it have that like charging symbol?
It does. The light
It's
is
so
on.
strange.
Oh my god. Well, that's weird. And it's been plugged in all day. Welcome to our technical difficulties. Yeah.
How far in are we? I can't even see.
Oh,
from
37.
End,
we're at 37 minutes. We've been talking for a really long time.
Okay. We have. And also, yes. I really don't think we're going to get through like all the social media stuff because I think this was just like, let's share with everyone your experience of what happened on the back end because I think it's really important to point it out.
Have you ever had a post taken down, by the way?
I have not yet. And again, I feel like it's one of those things where it's a yet thing because I feel like the rules are constantly changing and, companies are always looking for whether or not it's Meta or whether or not it's the products that we're working on that's branded. We sort of follow sort of this loose guideline of like, okay, let's not violate it in a way that confuses the consumer from, the thing that we're actually working on is actually associated with a brand that, that actually produces this product. But again, you just never know because no one ever explicitly told us what we can or cannot do. And so we try our best to comply.
Yeah.
And I
even
think
if
the rules
they do,
are always changing.
Yes. But like, even if somebody at Meta said, hey, this is okay to do, somebody at Nike says, hey, this is okay to do. I think the system in place with the AI and everything and the way that they flag content will not, it won't give you those results, because there's no way for them to be like, oh, it's okay for this user to use it like this, or this creator to do this with it, but not this. It's like, it's not that sensitive yet, the way that they're just sweeping content, right? So
Yeah.
you really can't.
And so I think, so then maybe like for me, my takeaway from this is that, again, this didn't happen to me. So like, I cannot even imagine, like, I'm frustrated for you from just, when you were going through it and you were telling me what's happening. But again, like, there's a part of me that like really feels like it's a matter of time before it happens to me. And like, when that time comes, like, how would I cope with it? And I think sharing your experience with us, like, is so good for us to know, because knowing that, like, yes, it's been taken down, there is still a possibility for you to get it back up. And I think it's just important. I think this is like another reason for us why, like, and we can totally get into this another day, but like the fact that TikTok might be banned, I don't know. But like, we need to diversify, right? So for example, like if Meta gets taken down tomorrow, if TikTok gets banned tomorrow, where else do we have our content where we don't feel like all of our eggs are in one basket? And we would feel okay, like, if that disappeared, right? And so I think this is just like a really good reminder for all of us in this space to diversify like our content. Oh, Vicky, why are you FaceTiming me? That's so weird. Oh, wait, what is happening? Wait, it's still recording?
I am so sorry. My computer just died on
me. Wait, are we? It looks like we're still recording though.
Wait, what? How?
It says it's recording, so maybe if I just... Okay, you know what? Here, this is what I'm gonna do. Okay, hold on. All right, listeners. So Vicky is calling me on FaceTime, and because we're experiencing some technical difficulties again. However, this is a great time for us to end this episode. I really appreciate you. Vicky really appreciates you. Thank you for sitting in with us. If you like this podcast, minus the technical difficulties, please give us a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps other people find our podcast. Until next time, peace. All right.